Hello, everyone. I'm Asher Umerie, senior editor at HackerNoon, writer and budding filmmaker, if I do say so myself. I am so excited to be here speaking with all of you today. But before we get right into the thick of things, I want us to give a very quick hand to Sal and the entire Gladify AI team for putting this together. It's an initiative that we're all excited about at HackerNoon. And as I already mentioned, I'm really glad to be here. So over the next couple of minutes, I will be sharing my POV, which is informed by years publishing thousands of stories at HackerNoon and then writing some of my own as well on what a great technical story is. Now, I especially like the word story in this context because even though technical writing can in some cases have somewhat rigid rules, at HackerNoon we support and encourage the personality and narrative freedom that are intrinsic to storytelling. I know if any of that seems unclear right now, just stay with me. It will all make sense as we go along. So, first off, let's start by properly defining what technical writing is. So, simply put, it is the act of communicating complex technical information to an audience in a way that is easily understandable. It informs directly, instructs effectively, or directs a specific audience towards a tangible goal. So if your work doesn't inform, direct, or instruct an audience effectively, it's not a good piece of technical writing. Now, still on definitions, these days, when most people think about technical writing, they immediately think software products. But that's far from the full story. In fact, technical writing isn't even exclusive to technical fields, or it hasn't always been. Many believe that there are ties that go all the way back to the Puritans. Now, they weren't technical writers in the modern sense, but their approach to language and communication shaped the clarity, precision, and utilitarian tone that would later go on to define what technical writing is. All of this is just to say that technical writing can take on many forms, and it is really more about how information is communicated than it is about what the information even is. But with that being said, let's take a look at some general forms or broad categories of technical writing. Academic and research papers, end user documentation, developer docs, internal manuals, technical marketing, white papers, case studies, patent and legal documents. It can take on a myriad of forms. So all of this is a user manual, technical writing, an academic research paper, technical writing, a patent, technical writing. But for the sake of this conversation today, let's focus on some of the forms that we see a lot at HackerNoon. I've just highlighted some examples. Here's this article, Coding a Fractal Tree with JavaScript and HTML5, a technical article. It's a tutorial. Detecting and mitigating fake contact data, a case study with Apple ecosystem signals. Also a piece of technical writing, but in this case, it's a case study. We have reviews, OpenAI Codex CLI, early buggy, but aiming to redefine how developers code with AI. Samsung AI's glasses versus Meta's Ray-Ban, why this rivalry could redefine wearable computing, technical article as well, and on and on and on. So it can take many forms, but I imagine that most of you here today would be working on one of the ones that I've listed as examples from HackerNoon: tutorials, case studies, reviews, products, or tool comparisons, right? So now that we've defined, I mean, these are just some examples. There are quite literally tens of thousands more where that came from in our very deep repository of technical content that we've published over the years. But I hope that this very short, this very brief description has given us a clearer idea of what technical writing is and what technical writing can be. So moving forward, I'm going to be discussing in two major sections. Sorry, excuse me. And for the first section, I'll be discussing general tips for writing a great technical story. And for the second section, as a way to give a nod to my background in prose, I'll be giving us a structure that we can apply to any technical article that we work on, and it's basically just stealing or borrowing the 3-act structure that you learn when you want to write prose or when you want to write scripts for films, and seeing how we can apply that to technical stories. So let's get started. For the general tips, number one, you need to have a clear motive, right? So before you start writing, be clear about what you want the reader or readers to get out of your article. Are you going to be teaching them something new? Are you showing them a new approach to a problem they're already familiar with, to solving a problem they're already familiar with? Are you reviewing a product? Are you comparing 2 or more products? So you need to have a clear motive. If your motive is not clear, you will write yourself into a ditch, you will write in circles, and at the end of the day, the reader would leave either confused or with misinformation. And that is something you do not want to do. You want every reader to read your work and take something away from it. Otherwise, it's not great work. Now, the next thing is you need to know your reader. Now, this goes hand in hand with the first point. Ask yourself, who are you writing for? What do they already know, right? Does the group you are writing for, do they have a specific language that they like to communicate with? For instance, if you're writing for people that are crypto enthusiasts, you know that there's specific nomenclature that you have to put into your article to sort of virtue signal to them that you understand what you're talking about. But in general, typically you would encounter 3 categories of readers. You would encounter people, beginners with little or no knowledge of the concepts you're discussing, peers who understand the field as much as you do, and experts who have much deeper knowledge on the subject matter that you do. Now, each of these groups require a different type of approach, and understanding which of them you are writing for will help shape your tone, structure, and the level of explanation necessary. For example, if you're writing for experts, you wouldn't need to explain basic concepts. You can just dive right into technical information because you expect them to understand those concepts. But if you're writing for beginners, on the other hand, you can't assume that they know anything about the field. So every concept that you discuss has to be broken down as much as possible, right? So it is important that you know the audience that you're writing for, and it's totally up to you. You best understand how you want to position yourself as a writer or as a thought leader. You understand how you want to be perceived by the industry that you're writing in, and all of that ties into the kind of work you create, but more importantly, how you create it and how you structure it. Now, general tip number 3, research, research, research. We can't emphasize this enough. When you're writing a technical article, your readers immediately expect a certain level of expertise from you. It's why you see a lot of technical writers these days start an article with their credentials and experience. They're essentially letting the readers know, I know my stuff. And even if you do not state your credentials from the jump, even if you don't state your experience from the jump, your readers expect you to know what you're talking about. If I see someone write an article about how to, I don't know, hack a Facebook account as an ethical hacker, I expect them to know how to hack at the very least. And this is important, knowing your stuff, because with the proliferation of AI content, and people just leaning on ChatGPT to prop them up as thought leaders, there's a lot of shallow information going around, and it's something that we've also had to navigate over the years at HackerNoon. So it's important that you expand your knowledge base. Do not write anything that you do not know, right? Also, technical stories, technical articles hinge on accuracy. Accuracy is like the most important thing. There is no room for subjectivity, unlike you would see in prose or in a film. Nobody really cares about your opinion. People want to hear facts. And, everything you say must be 100% true. It must also be verifiable. Your code must work, and your examples must be reproducible, right? Otherwise, you would lose credibility at breakneck speed. And as a rule, just as a general rule, if you do not know it well enough, don't write about it. And if you're just learning about whatever concept you are hoping to write about, but want to document your learning process, that's something you have to be expressly clear about. And we have articles like that on HackerNoon. People that just started learning to code, oh, hey, this is my first project, and this is how I went about it, right? So do not let people assume by omission that you are a subject matter expert when you do not have a solid understanding of that subject. And honestly, the difference between you and a subject matter expert is research, experimentation, trial and error. So really learn, know your stuff before you write. Yeah, that's really all there is to it. Research, research, research. Use visuals, right? Visuals break up text and enhance comprehension. Flow charts, screenshots, tables, demos are your allies, right? Nobody wants to read these days with how, our attention span is constantly dropping. Nobody's really interested in reading 3,000 words of just dense text. It can seem daunting when a reader opens up your article and it's just text. So feel free to break it up with visuals that add. It's very important. The visuals have to add to the content. You just don't carry pictures and shove them around the article. It's important that the visuals you use add to the content, illustrate your examples, and help readers understand what you're saying a bit better. And at HackerNoon, right, we're even open to the occasional meme or GIF as long as it fits into your narrative. So bring it on. Let your personality shine through. Break up your text with visuals, and you would see that readers would appreciate your work for that and keep coming back to read the articles that you put out. Now, general tip number 5, you need a logical flow. This, I imagine, is self-explanatory. You want to guide readers step by step. Ensure that each section flows naturally into the next. This is a super simple image to illustrate. You go from A to B to C to D. Don't start something from the beginning and then go to the end. Again, if you're writing a story, if you're writing prose, you can break as many rules as you want in this regard. You can start from the end, start from the resolution of the conflict, and then work your way back, to the setup. You can be Christopher Nolan in Memento. But for a technical article, you want readers to follow you from point A, then point B, then point C, then point D. So maintain a logical flow across your work. And a pro tip in this regard is very simple, a table of contents. Some people, the table of contents comes to them after they are done with the article. But for most people that are just starting out, the best advice you can get in this regard is have a table of contents. Map out the structure of your article so that you know what all the sections are, and you prove to yourself first and foremost before putting it down why each section is important, right? Again, if you are teaching someone something and you are in, say, section 2, and you start saying some things and you realize that they need some of the information in section 3 to understand what you are saying in section 2, then it's obvious that section 3 should come before section 2. So maintain that logical flow throughout your article. It's very important. Next, focus on readability. Recently, this quote is from a HackerNoon contributor that shared a testimonial about writing on HackerNoon and winning a writing contest recently. and it is very sound advice. Focus less on sounding smart and more on being clear. Big words are great. They exist for a reason. They add color to your work sometimes, but it is more important to be clear. It is more important to be understood than to color your prose purple, right? So focus on being clear. If you've written something and it can be broken down a little bit, break it down a little bit. And also, this isn't just about the text itself, it's also about how the text is formatted. So if you have something that you, from what you can see, would be better understood with bullet points as opposed to a dense paragraph, use bullet points, right? So anything you can do, because you have to remember that the article is more about the reader than it is about you. It is more about the value that the reader is gleaning from it, so put your ego aside, assuming, so put your ego aside and focus on serving the reader in as best as you possibly can. And it would do wonders for your readership and help you establish yourself better as a thought leader. General tip number 7, be yourself. As I mentioned earlier, we at HackerNoon, we have a healthy appetite for personality. And again, it is so much more important these days because everybody's writing with AI now. And if we continue, everybody is just going to sound exactly the same. So don't be afraid to let your personality shine through. If you are just starting out, try writing the way you speak, right? And let your voice naturally emerge from your practice, because you do have to practice. Unfortunately, there's no easy way out. If you want to grow as a writer, you need to write often and you need to write consistently. So define whatever consistency looks like to you, whether it's once a day, once a week, whatever your reality allows, but let your personality shine through. Don't be afraid. Don't try to sound like anyone else. Don't try to recreate the work that anybody has done. Always look for a way to put your own spin on things, because it really is the only way you can truly stand out. There are millions of articles on the internet, and that number is growing at breakneck speed. And the only way you can separate yourself from all the noise is by being yourself, because that is what you can control. Don't let AI write for you, okay? You can use AI for so many other things that can support your writing process without actually getting it to do the work. It's a great tool for researching. It can be a great tool for brainstorming. I put some other things down. Yeah, it can be a great tool for fact checking. It can be a great tool for referencing, for sourcing quotes, and so on and so forth. But the actual task of writing, especially for those of you here, I don't imagine that you would have taken the time out of your busy days or busy schedules to attend a workshop if you are not planning to do the work. But just in case there's anybody that is planning to go back and put everything into ChatGPT, rethink that. Use it to support you. Use it as a tool and not as a growth writer. And not as a ghostwriter, sorry. Your point of view is important. Your voice is one of a kind and it matters more than you know. All right? So finally, to quickly wrap this up, I know I've been yapping for a while. Let's take a look at how the 3-act structure can be applied to technical stories. So you can think of your technical story, as a 3-act story. And Act 1, so it's basically just beginning, middle, and end, really. There are many fun names that have been attached to it over the years by many different amazing writers, but it really is just beginning, middle, and end. So Act 1, the hook or the setup, Act 2, the how, and Act 3, the wrap-up or the resolution. All of the text in those boxes are more for storytelling and film, but we will see very soon how they can be applied to technical stories. So for Act 1, this is where you advocate for the importance of your article. This is where you help the reader understand why they should bother reading it in the first place. If it's a tutorial, tell them what they'll be able to learn by the end. If you've uncovered a solution to a problem, this is where you describe the problem, and maybe even mention the other approaches you tried before finding one that worked. If it's a product comparison, explain what the products being compared actually do. At this point, you are selling the value of your article to the reader, right? So take this time to really set the tone, take this time to really hook your reader and set up the rest of your article. Now, Act 2 is the how. Now, this is the main content. This is the meat of your article, the point where you share your learnings, your process, your experience. And here, you really want to dig in. One issue that we've seen quite a bit with amateur technical writers when they submit their work to HackerNoon, especially, a very unique niche where they say, okay, here's how I built this tool that does X, Y, Z. A lot of the time, you go into that article expecting a detailed process, but I leave sometimes those articles and all I learn is that they allegedly built it. They don't actually show how, right? And at this stage, most editors, HackerNoon editors, which are people I can speak for, want to see everything you know about that subject matter, everything you don't know, and maybe even don't know about the subject. If you build something, show us the architecture, the code, show us demos, integrations, logic, mistakes you made along the way, challenges you encountered and how you overcame them, and finally, present the finished product if applicable. This is that imagine that a reader is going over your work. You want them to technically be able to reproduce your work by reading that article. So if someone following along that article cannot recreate what you've done, then you've not really done it well enough, right? So yeah, show us the how. Really, really show us the how. And then at 3, the wrap up. Tie everything together, reinforce key lessons, and leave readers with something actionable. That is important. Your readers have to leave here with something. That Denzel meme comes to mind for any fans of pop culture, where he's having a conversation with Jamie Foxx, I believe, and it's like, I'm leaving here with something, and he does his trademark lip movement thing. So you want your readers like Denzel to leave your article with something. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. I hope I haven't been speaking for too long, and I hope that this gives you some context on how to approach technical articles. But not to worry, we've shared a writing template that can help you get started until you are used to the process, right? Remember, at its heart, technical story is about clarity, empathy, and purpose. If readers leave your piece understanding why it matters and how to act on it, then you've done your job. I will end this today with a popular quote from everybody's favorite math scientist, Albert Einstein. If you can't explain it simply, if you can't explain a concept simply, then you probably don't understand it enough. So that's it for today. Thank you for having me, and I can't wait to see what you all come up with.